Logging in through the Desktop Manager. Armand Shahriarian. Logging in through the Desktop Manager. Although GNOME is the default desktop environment, others are available without much effort. If you have multiple desktop environments installed, you will be able to select one in the Display Manager when you log in. First, you need to enter your user name so the system can identify the default environment you have configured. This may be the last one you logged into. Figure 1 to 4 shows environments that I can select from on one of my Kali Linux systems. Figure 1 to 4. Desktop selection at login. There have been numerous display managers over the years. Initially, the login screen was something the X Window Manager provided, but other display managers have been developed, expanding the capabilities. One of the advantages of LightDM is that it's considered lightweight. This may be especially relevant if you are working on a system with fewer resources such as memory and processor. XFCE Desktop. One desktop environment that has been somewhat popular as an alternative over the years is XFCE. One of the reasons it has been popular is that it was designed to be fairly lightweight for a full desktop environment and, as a result, more responsive. Many hardcore Linux users I have known over the years have gravitated to XFCE as their preferred environment, if they needed a desktop environment. Again, the reason is that it has a simple design that is highly configurable. In Figure 1 to 5, you can see a basic setup of XFCE. The panel on the bottom of the desktop is entirely configurable. You can change where it's located and how it behaves, and add or remove items as you see fit, based on how you prefer to work. This panel includes an applications menu that includes all the same folders/categories that are in the GNOME menu. Figure 1 to 5. XFCE Desktop showing Applications menu. While XFCE is based on the GNOME Toolkit, GTK, it is not a fork of GNOME. It was developed on top of an older version of GTK. The intention was to create something that was simpler than the direction GNOME was going in. It was intended to be lighter weight and, as a result, have better performance. The feeling was that the desktop shouldn't get in the way of the real work users want to do. Cinnamon and Mate. Two other desktops, Cinnamon and Mate, owe their origins to GNOME as well. The Linux distribution, Linux Mint, wasn't sure about GNOME 3 and its GNOME shell, the desktop interface that came with it. As a result, it developed Cinnamon, which was initially just a shell sitting on top of GNOME. With the second version of Cinnamon, it became a desktop environment in its own right. One of the advantages to Cinnamon is that it bears a strong resemblance to Windows in terms of where things are located and how you get around. You can see that there is a menu button at the bottom left, much like the Windows button, as well as a clock and other system widgets at the right of the menu bar or panel. You can see the panel as well as the menu in Figure 1 to 6. Again, the menu is just like the one you see in GNOME and XFCE. As I've suggested above, there were concerns about GNOME 3 and the change in the look and behavior of the desktop. Some might say this was an understatement, and the reversion of some distributions to other looks might be considered proof of that. Regardless, Cinnamon was one response to GNOME 3 by creating a shell that sat on top of the underlying GNOME 3 architecture. Mate, on the other hand, is an outright fork of GNOME 2. For anyone familiar with GNOME 2, Mate will seem familiar. It's an implementation of the classic look of GNOME 2. You can see this running on Kali in Figure 1 to 7. Again, the menu is shown so you can see that you will get the same easy access to applications in all of the environments. The choice of desktop environment is entirely personal. One desktop that I have left off here, but that is still very much an option, is the KDesktop environment, KDE. There are two reasons for this. The first is that I have always found KDE to be fairly heavyweight, although this has evened out some with GNOME 3 and the many packages it brings along with it. KDE never felt as quick as GNOME and certainly XFCE. However, a lot of people like it. More particularly, one reason for omitting an image of it is that it looks an awful lot like Cinnamon. One of the objectives behind KDE always seemed to be to clone the look and feel of Windows so users coming from that platform would feel comfortable. Figure 1 to 7. Mate desktop with menu. If you are serious about really getting started with Kali and working with it, you may want to spend some time playing with the different desktop environments. It's important that you are comfortable and can get around the interface efficiently. If you have a desktop environment that gets in your way or is hard to navigate, you probably don't have a good fit for you. You may try another one. It's easy enough to install additional environments. When we get to package management a little later, you'll learn how to install additional packages and, as a result, desktop environments. You may even discover some that aren't included in this